Good evening, YouTubers out there. Welcome to my very first video in the Matinee Madness channel. Tonight, we are just giving the review of the movie that I have just seen about 5 minutes ago. It ended, Live by Night, starring Ben Affleck. And this is a Prohibition era gangster film about the lead character played by Ben Affleck. And for those of you who are television aficionados, this movie would be similar. It would be a large screen treatment of Boardwalk Empire. And I guess when I just left the theater, I said to some people sitting in my row, I said, well, you know, it's not The Godfather, but it's very entertaining. It's a period piece, Prohibition era, so the art direction is very, very good. All, you know, the old Prohibition era 1930s cars, wonderful. The machine guns, reminiscent of that era, wonderful. The story follows Ben Affleck as a person who, as he says, I never wanted to be a gangster, but it turns out he becomes a gangster running booze and moonshine, and he ends up hooking up with Zoe Saldana, who also stars in the picture. She doesn't have a very large part, but she plays his romantic interest after, of course, in America, he loses his first primary Caucasian romantic interest. The movie is, as I said, entertaining. It has a few lull moments as far as the pacing, but the pacing is it's satisfactory. It isn't the best that it could be, but it's satisfactory. The performances are satisfactory. The action sequences are very, very good. The shootouts, the car with the machine guns, the car chases and the car crashes with the Prohibition era vehicles. So it's a pretty solid action flick. It's not a, you know, earth-shattering blockbuster, but it is entertaining. The story is entertaining and plausible. The performances for everyone involved was very good. You'll find a couple really good character actors in this movie that I don't know their names, but I'm sure when you see them, you will recognize them, and they all played their parts well. And another part to note in this film would be the role played by Dakota Fanning's sister, Elle Fanning. She actually plays, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so she ends up playing a reformed heroin addict. So those of you who know Elle Fanning, I don't remember her playing any other roles like this that was this serious. So this is one of her, well, for me to see, one of her first serious roles. And I think she does it well. She's not, in my opinion, really suited yet for serious roles. I don't think she has the experience, and she doesn't really have the grit, but she does passable. She does passable. I mean, to me, one of my favorite things seeing her in was in Maleficent a couple years ago. She was excellent in that, and because, you know, that role was, I think, closer to who she is as a young. She's still a very young girl. She's very optimistic. She's, you know, giggly, bright, and bubbly. So to see her play a role like this of a recovering heroin addict was, you know, it's very much casting against type. And in the film, and this gives away a little bit of the plot, she is the daughter of a law enforcement officer who looks the other way when it comes to Ben Affleck's not drug smuggling, when it comes to Ben Affleck's alcohol smuggling business, because this is the Prohibition era, and he kind of looks the other way, but he still considers himself a righteous man, and he's pretty much taught his daughter to be righteous. So when she falls down into heroin, she goes off to Hollywood to become, you know, an actress, and she falls into heroin, and basically Ben Affleck uses her plight to blackmail her father. And to take it further into the plot, she becomes of all things, a minister and supposedly a Christian, and she stands against one of Ben Affleck's major projects toward the middle of the film, which is to build a casino somewhere down, I believe in Florida it is. So she, because, gambling is sinful, she opposes that. But that whole subplot gets into one of my chief objections to the movie. And for all of you new to the channel, I am a Christian and I will not be ashamed of that. And one of the things I want to do in these reviews, I'm going to add some spirituality to the review for the Christians who are going to see movies out there. If you're not interested in spirituality, you can stop watching this right now, because you can stop watching this review right now, because in every review, if there's anything that I find spiritually disturbing, I intend to add those to these reviews that I do on this channel. So you need to become aware of that if you're going to subscribe to this channel. And unfortunately, we're living in a very anti-Christian world today. So it seems like even movies that should have nothing to do with spirituality, they have to put in an anti-Christian message. And the thing that I really don't like about this message is, there's a scene where she's sitting there where she has turned Ben Affleck down. She said, no, because basically, her popularity is stopping the law enforcement from, allowing this casino to be built. So he says, well, why can't you, just please, for my sake, because she likes him and her father still likes him, can't you stop, remove the anti-gambling message from your sermons? And she refuses to do so. But a couple scenes later, she, meets Ben Affleck at the coffee shop, and she's talking about her struggles with, recovery from the drugs. And she says, you know what? I don't know if there's a God, but if there is, I hope that he's kind and blah, blah, blah. And for me, after all the preaching that she does, because they show her at an old-fashioned, camp meeting in a tent, with the signs going, repent, turn to God, draw near to God and all that. And she's pretty much basically pretending that it was God who set her free from drugs. She's really saying that, now I was a drug addict, now I'm free. And she's pretty much, she now doesn't come right out and say it in the script, but, one would assume that she's going to say that Jesus Christ set her free from her drug addiction. But then in the next scene, she's saying, well, I don't know if there really is a God. And, I would prefer that if you're going to show a Christian, especially in a light like that, just say one who believes that there is a God. And I'm sorry, as a person with Christian experience myself, one of my best friends I allowed to live with me over the last year and a half. And guess what? He got involved in crystal meth and he got involved in heroin, and God did set him free. He's been able to walk away from both of those drugs. And anybody who's ever did those drugs, those are amazingly addictive drugs that it's hard to go away from. Two of my very other best friends got involved in crystal meth, and it took them months of rehab and intensive therapy to get away from it, and then they fell right back. But my friend, through the help of Jesus Christ, was able to walk away from both those addictions. So, you know what? If they're going to do topics like that, they should either do it or stay out of it. And that, as a Christian moviegoer, I believe that is my opinion to have, and I have that opinion. And even further, another thing along the spiritual realm that I really objected to the movie was basically, she also said to Ben Affleck, she said that, you know what, I found in all my struggles that that if there is a heaven, it's right here on earth. Now, what kind of sense does that make? You don't even have to be any kind of Christian or anything else. What kind of sense did that make after this woman has gone through all hell trying to get out of drugs? She fell in with the wrong crowd in Hollywood, and they got her involved in the drugs, and they took pornographic pictures of her, and she barely got out of, you see, she kept showing all the tracks in her arms when she's preaching her messages in the tent messages, and she's saying that this is heaven. Is heaven a place where people lure you into substance abuse? No, that's not a heaven. And for those of us who are Christians that believe that there is an actual place called heaven, where Jesus said in the Bible, I go to prepare a place for you, that where you are, where I am, you be also. We find that, offensive. And as a Christian, I find that offensive. And I'm going to say that in this review of this movie to tell other Christians that that is a very offensive message. And if you don't want to be exposed to that, then don't go see this movie. I'm sorry that I was too. And again, the bottom line is they could have left all that out of this, or they could have just had her be, God save me from drugs and just let it be that, or leave the God angle out of it, period. And I don't want to give away the ending of the movie because there's a very interesting act of violence that happens near the conclusion of the movie. And all I can say is that, again, for any, especially an evangelical Christian, the way this whole scene is played out should be very, very, very offensive to any believer out there. So again, you know what? If you are sensitive in this area, you don't want to waste don't want your money going to something blasphemous. That was a bit blasphemous in my opinion. You may not look at it that way, but that's the way I look at it. And again, not to spoil it for you, if you do want to see it for yourself, all I will say is that it centers around the word repent. The word repent leads to a very tragic scene of violence near the conclusion of the film. And as an evangelical Christian myself, I find it very, very disturbing. And since this movie was made by, it was produced by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's nowhere near a Christian. Ben Affleck is a super liberal, nowhere near a Christian. I believe that these people were taking a dig at Christianity, and they were trying to show basically make Christians look fanatical, violent, and dangerous. And that's all I'll say without giving away the ending of the film. So for Christians, these are cautions that you need to know about. I wouldn't say the whole movie is so bad, because it is, it's the violence of, the 30s Prohibition era. So that, and the sex scenes between Affleck and both of his love interests are about, they're extremely tame by standards for an R-rated movie. You don't really see any skin of any woman. You don't see any bare breast. And I'm thinking that Ben Affleck is not even in shape, because he doesn't even do a single shirtless scene in this whole movie. He wears some very great 30s era suits and hats and everything, like all the women do too, which is one thing I love about this period. I love the fashions of the 20s and the Prohibition era, 30s Prohibition era clothing. It's wonderful. So the sex is really not a problem, and the violence, the more gorier violence is just the quick scenes of maybe a body in the ground with a bullet in the head, and that also. So by Hollywood standards, it's not all that bad either. But the anti-Christian message here, I find very bigoted, and it really did offend me. And I think for evangelicals who are hot in their faith, I think it will offend you too. So, but overall, I would give the movie, I think it got like something, I forget, it was like a 34% on, Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think it's that bad. It has a few pacing issues here and there, but it's a pretty solid story, pretty solid performances, a very, very entertaining. It's, again, not a blockbuster. It's not, The Godfather, but I give it on a scale of A to F, traditional grading scale, I would give it a C, almost C plus. Out of 5 stars, 3.5, something like that. So, it's not a blockbuster, but it's okay. It's all right. But for Christians, those are cautions that I would have. So thanks for watching this, my first review. My next review coming up is going to be another really contentious film called Split. About James McAvoy plays a psychopathic mentally ill person who suffers from dissociative identity disorder, and who kidnaps 3 young girls, and it really goes downhill from there. And I wanted to do that review yesterday, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to add some pictures and other commentary with it. But that's my next review coming up, Split. Thank you for watching this one, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my brand new Matinee Madness channel. Thanks for listening.